Welcome to sjbearden.com, Hill Country Photographer. Today's going to be a very quick, simple lesson covering some differences between a point-and-shoot camera and a digital SLR high-resolution Sony cameras. And we're going to discuss a little bit about cell phone cameras, front and back on cell phones. And then I have the point-and-shoot digital camera, 20.1 megapixel Sony CyberShot camera. And then we have our big high-resolution digital Sony camera, the A77AX high-resolution digital camera, is 24.8 megapixels. And we're going to discuss some of those differences as a quick little what you might be looking for to buy or whatever. But first of all, a few little things about myself. I started taking pictures when I was 14-year-old. My dad got me a camera for my birthday, and that was back in the days of film, of course. So I used that camera so much and practically wore it out. I got a better camera, a Minolta. I had an old Kodak, but I got a Minolta for Christmas from my parents. And I went pretty much everywhere with my camera, taking pictures of different things that were interesting. And I didn't develop all the film that I spent money on, but quite a bit, things that were interesting. And then eventually, in the early 90s, I switched over to my first digital camera, which was kind of awful after using a film camera. It was 35 millimeter, but it wasn't a very, very expensive 35 millimeter camera. It was a decent 35 millimeter camera, but I didn't have interchangeable lens back then. It only had one lens that you could zoom in and out with. My first digital camera was a Sony Mavica, and you put a 3¼ inch floppy in it, and you could take 10 pictures at full resolution, or if you cut the resolution down, you could get 15 to 20 at a lower resolution, and it was only like 2.2 megapixel, that old digital camera, and it was about the same size as this big DSLR camera. But switching over to the difference between a point-and-shoot and a digital lens camera where you can change lenses and whatnot, and then the fact that everybody with a cell phone nowadays thinks they're a photographer. Now, the cell phones have gotten tremendously much better, and this one here is almost 5 times stronger than my original digital camera. It has a 5 megapixel on the back. On the front, it has an 8.5 megapixel, and it has flash built into it, and it also does video. But even though it has all of that, this one little point-and-shoot high-resolution 20.1 megapixel Sony camera, which has a memory stick in it, can hold up to almost 700 pictures with a 32 gigabyte stick inside of it. This little point-and-shoot is so much better in low-light situations, birthdays, and then when you get out in a highlight situation like at the beach or out of the park with the kids or the dog. A point-and-shoot is really great, but it's kind of slow. And it does have a zoom functionality. It has an 8x zoom, which is a digital zoom. It's not a true focal zoom. And the motor runs the end lens in and out, and there's no exchangeable lenses on this. But whenever I do an event like a wedding or a quinceañera, or go do scenery, I try to always have the little point-and-shoot with me and my high-resolution digital camera. So there's a lot of difference here. This lens comes off. I have 3 different lenses for it. There's considerably more maintenance with a DSLR, and the DSLR lenses can be quite expensive depending on the features you got. This is a low-level lens. It's a 2.8 16-50 SSM from Sony, and I have 300 millimeter, and I have a 50 millimeter fixed for portraits and internal stuff. And the difference between the two cameras is tremendous, and the difference in the pictures, you can't really tell the difference between a 4x6 from this camera, or from the cell phone. Snapshots, 4x6, they all look very similar. Now if you get out your magnifying glass, you can definitely see the difference in the resolution on these two cameras compared to what you get on a cell phone. But some people don't care about the detail and the resolution on a cell phone, and they're perfectly happy with that, and that's fine. But true street photography, real photographers, is a dying art form, because capturing the light, capturing the content of a picture with a digital camera does take some time and effort to study how and what you like and what you don't like. But that's a quick lesson for today. If you're in the market to spend $120, you can get a very good semi-high resolution digital camera, point and shoot. The DSLRs now have come down into about the $400 to $500 range with one lens, and they go up from there all the way to $20,000 for a high resolution digital camera, mirrorless and things like that. And of course the cell phones, they go anywhere from a couple $100 all the way up to a couple $1,000. So again, I'm Scott from the Hill Country Photography in Marble Falls, Texas. My website has over 164,000 pictures on it. It's been functioning fully for over 17 years now. In fact, the website's birthday is in October. That's part of the reason why I put this little video up, to build a following. Stay tuned for more informative little how-to videos. If you like it, please put a like on it and subscribe to my site. I'd very much appreciate that. Please leave comments. I would very much like to have comments. Until next time, do what makes you happy and worship where you feel to worship. A happy Sunday to all.